A very good late afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm James Preston and you're watching Kalkine TV live from Sydney. This is the last show of the day, the last trade, and there's no better way to wind down the day than with the market close commentary. We'll take a look at the overall ASX 200 performance for the day, including the biggest gainers and losers, stocks that have grabbed the headlines, and we'll also take a look at global markets and the crypto space. So let's get started. Investors strapped themselves in for a bumpy day of trading as the ASX futures pointed down by 1.2% in the early trades, and the market was expected to follow Wall Street lower once again. At midday, tech, IT and mining stocks once again followed their Wall Street peers lower, and only a handful of stocks posted some late gains. Late in the afternoon, the market was still 1.1% lower, led by the Big Four banks and CSL. The ASX 200 closed lower, dropping 1.08% and setting a new 50-day low. The index has lost 1.37% for the last 5 days, but has gained 9.25% over the past year. 9 of 11 sectors traded lower. Utilities was the best performing sector, gaining 0.11% and 2.43% for the past 5 days. Let's now take a look at the top gainers and losers of the day. Material companies stood out today. The top performer on the ASX pack was St Barbara, which jumped 6.8%. Regis Resources bagged the second gainer position, up by 6.3%. Silver Lake Resources also followed suit with its stock gaining 5.3% today. Evolution Mining was up by 4.4% and Orica rose 2.9% after it provided a snapshot of promising results expected next month in its financial year 2021 release. On the flip side, Pinnacle Investment Management Group was the top decliner, with its stock dropping by over 8%. It was followed by material companies Mineral Resources, which traded down by 5.7%, and Chalice Mining, which dropped by 5.3%. Tyro Payments also dipped by 5.5%, followed by Lynas Rare Earths, which plummeted nearly 5%. On the gaining side, Orica enjoyed a positive day. Orica shares rose by over 2% after the world's largest provider of commercial explosives and innovative blasting systems notified that it's all set to take a 345 to 370 million Aussie dollar hit to its statutory net profit after tax due to a number of individually significant items from the second half of the 2021 fiscal year. The company expects to receive an after-tax gain of around 70 million Aussie dollars for its non-core land sales, which will be offset by a goodwill impairment of between $145 to $155 million. Orica's financial year 21 results will be announced on November 11. Moving on now to Crown Resorts. Crown Resorts saw its share sink by over 1% after Australia's largest entertainment group announced board changes. Crown has appointed Anne Ward as a new independent non-executive director to the board to help lift its corporate governance credentials after 3 damaging royal commissions. Craig Durham has been appointed as Group Company Secretary and also as legal counsel. There was another interesting stock that grabbed investor attention today after the company responded to an ASX query. Viagold Rare Earth Resources received price queries this week, and the rare earth company was issued a ticket after its share price spiked by 40% yesterday. The past 5 days have seen its stock double to 45 cents. This has happened despite the company not making any significant market announcements since its AGM on the 14th of September. Viagold is unaware of any reason relating to its activities or financial position that would have given rise to the price and volume change in the securities. Following suit was Great Boulder Resources that was issued a notice yesterday after its shares rocketed by 53%. The company also has no explanation but has found new gold prospects recently at its Western Australian mine. Earlier this week, recently listed copper exploration business Revolver Resources saw an 80% spike in its securities to an all-time high of 63 cents. And now let's take a very small break, but stay tuned with me as we'll be back with more trending market updates on the last trade in just a moment.
Property by Kalkine. Looking for a dream home? Well, that may sound easy, but it isn't. And from looking for a property that is the right fit for you in terms of cost and other factors, to zeroing down on the right mortgage plan, there are various aspects to consider. And for the latest lowdown on the property market, tune in on Kalkine TV with me, Sage. I will give the latest updates on the property market as well as real estate stocks to help you make the right decision. Keep watching Property with Kalkine.
Thanks for sticking with us. It's great to have your company. James Preston with you for the last trade and all the market close commentary exclusive to Kalkine TV. Let's now take a look at some more stocks that are grabbing investors' attention today. Smartgroup Corporation shares soared by nearly 17% today after the salary packaging firm received a non-binding takeover bid from private equity firms TPG Capital and Potentia to buy all shares in the business at $10.35 apiece. The deal values all shares in the business at around 1.3 billion Aussie dollars. Moving on, and electricity infrastructure owner APA Group informed shareholders that its $2.60 per share bid for energy company AusNet remains alive, even though its original deadline for being granted due diligence is now close to passing. Chemicals business DGL is also making headlines. DGL Group marked an uptick of 1.3% today after they announced the strategic acquisition of the industrial shipment supplier Profil Industries for 7.65 million Aussie dollars. Included in the acquisition are the leases of multiple warehouses and manufacturing facilities in Western Australia and the appropriate licenses and planning approvals for those operations. The business and its assets will be fully integrated into the broader DGL Group and will operate as a subsidiary of DGL's chemical manufacturing business. From chemicals to the world of supermarkets, and Woolworths Group plummeted by 0.5% today. The retailer has priced $350 million of senior unsecured 6-year notes and also $350 million of 10-year notes under its medium-term note program. The notes are structured with a direct link to the group's sustainability goals, and that's what's played out on home soil. So let's now turn our attentions abroad. Asian shares seem to have lost ground today as investors fretted over economic uncertainties that increased the US benchmark bond yields and pushed the dollar to an over 10-month high. Higher yields and the strong dollar upset Asian equities as MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan fell by 1.43%, and in South Korea they tumbled by 2.06%. The Hong Kong benchmark dropped by 1.2%, whereas the Chinese blue chips traded by 1.1% lower. Japan's Nikkei also shared 2.35% as votes for a new leader heated up sentiments. Cash-tied Evergrande Group from China has seen its shares rise by over 12% after it said that it plans to sell a 9.99 billion yuan stake that it owns in Shengjing Bank. And beyond Asia, all three major US stock indexes fell almost 2% or more, with interest rate sensitive tech and tech adjacent stocks the worst hit by the surging yields. The S&P 500 noted its biggest one-day percentage drop since May. And just before we wrap up for the day, let's take a quick glance at the crypto market. Cryptocurrency prices continue to be in the red today. Cryptocurrency investment products and funds posted inflows for a 6th consecutive week as investors viewed recent regulatory challenges in the sector as buying opportunities. The largest virtual currency, Bitcoin, dropped nearly 1.65%, taking the market cap down to $787.08 billion US dollars. The largest altcoin, Ethereum, suffered a bigger setback as it declined by more than 6%. The global crypto market cap is 1.84 trillion US dollars, which is 2% lower over the past 24 hours. Although the markets are highly bearish, the decrease in the total traded volumes indicate that there is no panic selling as of yet. Interestingly, the S&P Dow Jones Indices has launched new cryptocurrency indexes, mainstreaming digital currencies including Bitcoin and Ethereum by bringing them to the trading floors of Wall Street. The new indexes are S&P Bitcoin Index S&P Ethereum Index and S&P Crypto Mega Cap Index that will measure the performance of digital assets tied to them. The list will expand to include additional coins later this year. Well, that's a wrap, ladies and gents. Hope you found the market closing commentary informative. We'll be back to do it again all tomorrow, starting with the market outlook from 9:30. Have a fantastic evening and very happy trading.